Williams. You can find that online on Itch.io. I believe the PDF is free on Itch.io, or pay what you want. And we are going to be playing a little mini campaign, Mice in the Herb Garden. Just to give you a little heads up, things that might come up in this game. This is quite a lethal world for these mice, so there might be some character death. There's going to be mentions of insects, magic, combat, and possibly a little bit of peril and disaster. So do keep that in mind as you're watching. With that, I think we should get started and talk to our lovely players. So I'm going to go around and ask you all, please introduce yourself, tell us your pronouns, and then introduce your character and tell us a little bit about them, tell us their pronouns and what they look like and so on. So we're going to start with Taylor.
Hello, my name is Taylor. I use she, her pronouns, and for today I'm going to be playing Apple Fritter, who also uses she, her pronouns. Apple is a little blue mouse and has sharp eyes, and is also a blacksmith who likes doing some of the fiddly fancy work and kind of travels around. So that's who I'm playing today.
Ella, tell us about you and who you'll be playing.
Okay, I'm Ella, my pronouns are she, her, and I will be playing Tabitha Thistle, who is a cider brewer, a black mouse with a brindled coat and an elongated face, who works at and runs the Applewood Inn.
Yes, and we'll talk about your hireling in a moment. Rue, tell us about you and about your character.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rue. My pronouns are she, her. I am playing Elchi Moro, whose pronouns are she, they. They are a troubadour. They're a gray flecked mouse with little black and white spots all over, and they have a broken electric banjo on their back.
And finally, Angela, tell us about you and your character.
Hello there, lovelies. Absolutely lovely to see you here with us. My name is Angela Lemusmogoveja. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm going to be playing Susie Fayhart. She is a small little librarian who has a bit of a generous and wrathful personality. Her coat is solid gray, she has a tufted tail, and she has messy clothes and a harried look. And if you want her personality, it is very much akin to...
Oh, I think we're just pausing for a sec. Bill Seacaster vibes, excellent. Okay, so that's all our characters. So I think we should get right to it and find out where all of our little mice live. So we start off, I'll set the scene just a little bit with a little bit of a narrative. Imagine a little bird's eye view. A raven flaps across the sky and we look down and we see a little witch's cottage nestled in the woods. There's a little stream running around the back of it. And as we kind of zoom in on that bird's eye view, we zoom down into a little garden with a nice little path running through the middle, an apple tree growing with some nice apples ready to drop now it's autumn. And we see a nice little walled herb garden, little bricks line the sides, and there's some sweet peas growing, and there's various different bushes of different herbs growing. And just nestled in the corner by the hedge is a couple of different little plant pots and a cardboard box. And as we go closer and closer, we see it is a settlement of little mice. And in the center of the courtyard, a little tiny courtyard in front of this cardboard box is a basil plant. And we are at Basildon Hall. I'm just going to change us over so we can see Basildon Hall. So this is our little settlement, and Basildon Hall, living in a herb garden. Of course, the mice here generally tend to do most of their trade by collecting and drying the herbs, hence why we have some little pots smoking herbs and things like that. And all of our little mice, our players, live here. First of all, before we get to adventuring, I'd be interested to know, on this lovely autumn morning, as the season of acorn is starting to draw in, which is autumn, and harvest festival and getting the stores ready for winter on all of your minds, I'd be interested in hearing what each of you is doing on this lovely morning. So again, I think I'll just go around. So Taylor, tell us what Apple Fritter is getting up to. So just a reminder, I mentioned this to you before, but for our viewers, there's a little trowel that you can see in the on our map. That is where the blacksmith is. It has a little furnace underneath to sort of heat up little metal things to melt down paper clips and so on to make into weapons. Yeah, you could be somewhere else as well if you want. So Taylor, where is Apple Fritter?
Yeah, Apple Fritter is definitely there, over by this trowel. But I think not like smithing actively right now. What she's doing is she's taken like a little piece of clay, and is holding an acorn in one hand and then like kind of trying to mold it and basically practicing on like how to make an intricate little design in the clay so that then later she can like make it out of metal. Yeah.
Very cute.
She's wearing like basically like a sweater dress, I think, that's like kind of mustard yellow and like red, and has like some little like leggings on, and it's like starting to get a little bit cold, so she's got a scarf nearby but isn't currently wearing it.
Excellent. With you at the blacksmith's is a new apprentice, Tommy Shrubwood. And Tome is working, I think he's working away on a little dagger that he's been practicing on. He's not like quite ready to sort of take over from you, but you know, he can man the forge and stuff if you need to go out for any reason. You can see also over by the drying herbs is Tome's father, Lovage Shrubwood, who is the head gardener and has a little rattan straw hat made out of reeds, who's whistling as he sort of sorts through the herbs. Meanwhile, Ella, where is Tabitha?
So Tabitha is in the Applewood Inn because it's where she lives and also works, which is like a little inn made out of applewood, which therefore always smells of kind of smoked apples. And right now she is preparing the signature dish of the Applewood Inn, which was inspired by Rue, because we all sort of agreed that we should really have some candied apples in here, but you know, we're tiny little nieces, so we can't have full apples. So instead, the signature dish of the Applewood Inn is like little marshmallowy kind of squares of apple that are like slow roasted until they're like pillowy and like melty on the inside, the way that toasted marshmallows are, and they're all caramelized on the outside. And she's kind of just like putting them all in and like caramelizing them and slow cooking them so that when you can have them, they're just these little parcels of like soft, like appley goodness. That's what she's doing.
Excellent. Yeah, so you're preparing some of the little squares. There's also in the kitchen area Ainsley Thistle, who is some cousin of yours. You know, there's so many mice about. He's some second or third cousin. It's hard to keep track these days. And he is, they are stirring a nice pot and of some sort of nice barley stew, it looks like. But the barley is so large because you are mice that it looks as if it's large chunks of potato. And he's there. Excuse me. Sorry. Let me just change. He uses he, they, so I'm trying to use both. He is stirring and takes a nice whiff, and it's like, oh, so tasty. Also, your friend Azealia, ex-adventurer, now torchbearer, is sitting eyeing up your apple caramel squares.
I think that Tabitha is sort of caught between her cousin and Azalea. Azalea is a fairly regular fixture, and so there's a little bit of kind of like almost martial arts level, like batting Azalea's paw away from the apples, just like without even looking, just like, yes, this is muscle memory. But meanwhile, also looking at Ainsley, who I don't know how long I've been trusting him in this kitchen, but I'm imagining that they quite often kind of nick little bits of barley. So sort of looking over there as well, and I'm sort of going like
between the two.
Ainsley, I told you 1,000 times. If I told you once, I told you you can't be taking anything from the stew. I told you that.
I'm just testing it that it
Wait,
tastes
doesn't need to be taste tested until there's nothing left, now does it?
You see,
how are we gonna feed the people of Basil and all?
Oh, there'll be plenty left. It'll be fine. Ask Azealia the same question, they say.
So now, what have we said about Azealia? She's not a reliable witness, is she? Now, I can see those puffed out cheeks. I can. All right, well, I think we're going to move you away to do some dishes then. We're going to move over to take over the stew.
You move Ainsley and Azealia away, ferry them away. Meanwhile, we will go over to Rue. Where do you think Elchie might be this morning? Just for a little bit more sort of location, the cardboard box is sort of where the council of Basildon Hall meets to make decisions. There's also, you can see there's like some little bramble bushes covered by some netting. Over that way is also where the Applewood Inn is, and also some little houses for other mice and so on. But yeah, where do you think Elchie might be on this bright morning?
Let me think. I think she's kind of just sat outside, maybe underneath that netting where the bushes are. It's just kind of like an outside area, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the netting sort of makes sure that if there were any, birds or things flying over, you'd all be, safe. So there's a few little like younger mice running around playing with like, they're rolling like a penny as if it's like a sort of hula hoop along the ground. And there's a few older mice as well who are playing like boule with like huge little berries rolling along the ground.
So cute. Yeah, I think they're sitting kind of out there. So they have that broken electric banjo on their back, but they also have a musical instrument that is actually playable. It's a clarinet, and they are just tuning it. And every once in a while, as the kids are rolling the penny, they kind of do like a little like cartoonish like musical accompaniment to that. So like the sound of like a little penny rolling in the same way like a cartoon would have like a little musical interlude. And yeah, they're just kind of tuning up their clarinet to make it sound a little better. There's kind of every time they play it, there's like the sound comes out and then it's just air for a little bit and then it comes out a little more and a little off tune.
Just a little honk, just a little one.
Yeah.
You also see Lovage working away. Lovage is bundling up some various different herbs, making little piles of sort of like combos of different ones to make into sort of packs as if he's kind of getting them ready to be taken away. But meanwhile, we'll go to Angela. Tell us where Susie might be. I will also let you know that the scrolls and things are kept in the cardboard box hall, if that is of interest.
Try and make this quick, as there's currently construction apparently starting right as we start stream right outside my apartment. Susie has passed out in the midst of just trash cans somewhere with a look of slight feral enthusiasm of she has the look of someone who's like, wait, did I find the thing I was looking for? Wait, is it over here? No, wait, no. And if anyone came by her, it would be a look, and they asked her, Susie, what are you doing? She's like, I'm looking for my book.
I think the sort of trash areas, you can see there's like a sort of a rusty can that's full. The inside is full of sort of like grains and pips and things. But behind that, there's some like sort of like area of where stuff is accumulated before it can be taken away to sort of be recycled and stuff. So I think it's kind of where you're resting.
And to give kind of a sense of what she looks like, she's very messy, harried look. She has the look of someone who, if you ask her the last time she ate, she would give you the most academic roundabout answer way of answering that question. Is very much someone who's like, I have a task and I must devote myself to that task. What is everything else?
In that case, I think Susie feels a little shake of paw on her shoulder, and Lady Periwinkle Basildon, who I think maybe knows of your exploits, who is the sort of like leader of the current Basildon Council, has kind of seen that you've gone off in that direction a little while ago and is like, and has come over with a tiny little loaf of bread to sort of wake you up and check you're okay, and is like, Susie, darling, you've done it again. Have you had breakfast, lunch, dinner yesterday?
She thinks about it very carefully, and there's no real answer that follows. She's just staring at the loaf of bread, and she's like making a gesture as if to indicate, is this for me?
Lady Periwinkle, yes, gives you the loaf of bread. Lady Periwinkle has like a sort of a blue dress, obviously, a sort of blue purple dress. She's quite sort of buttoned up, but she's quite a smart mouse. And yeah, so she kind of gives you the bread and she says, Susie, I feel, ever since you vacated the office of librarian,
I have never officially left the position. It is
well, yeah,
it is still a title which I am allowed to claim.
Your
Officially.
hiatus, yes, your hiatus. I feel perhaps we need to give you some more direction. If you would like, I know there are a few people around Basildon Hall who could do with some help at the moment. Maybe I could point you in a direction. We could even make it correspond and coincide with you were interested in some more book pages, I think it was. Maybe we could organize a little trip for you at some point to, have a look for some of those.
She simply breaks the loaf of bread in half and makes a bookmark out of it and continues reading her book as though she has not processed really any of this information that has been sent to her.
Very good. Lady Periwinkle gets up from her knees and sort of dusts off her dress and is like, well, if you do want some, after you've had your breakfast, maybe, I know Lovage the gardener was looking for some help with some of his herbs. So perhaps you might want to go and talk to him in a little bit. And we'll kind of go back to everyone else as similarly you receive similar messages from various people. Oh, Lovage is actually looking for a few mice to help him because he's got these bundles of herbs and could do with a little bit of help shifting a few of them and needs a few strong mice who might be able to help. So Tabitha, Azealia sort of remembers this halfway through eating a marshmallow apple cake. Taylor Tomei mentions this to you as he's working away on his dagger. And Elchie, I think actually Lovage calls out to you, so we'll kind of go to you first. And Lovage kind of calls out, "Oh, Elchie over there. You're doing anything this morning?"
Sorry, who is speaking?
This is Lovage the gardener.
Oh, okay. Elchie is kind of pretends not to hear and looks very interested in her clarinet and just kind of starts like mumbling, oh, it's so busy. I wish I had more time to help all the lovely mice in this place, but I'm just so busy. And she's like disassembling her clarinet so it's in pieces everywhere. And she's like, oh no, well, this will take all day to put back together.
You hear the little pitter patter of feet as Lovage comes over to you. He's got dirty sort of like overalls and but he smells really nice. He smells of herbs. But yeah, he kind of makes his way over to you as you're putting together this clarinet and he's like, it's a lovely tune you've got there, Elchie.
Oh no, this is it's garbage. I'm just trying to test this out. The musician's process is so lengthy and difficult. You understand. You are like a musician with your herbs. And she's just like, it looks like she's kind of putting it together, but also like putting it into pieces a little bit more.
he's sort of like, well, I suppose you could think of gardening as an art and music as an art. Yes, I suppose they are quite similar. Anyway, and he sort of leans down. Anyway, I was actually looking for some people to help me this morning. I've got a delivery of herbs to get out, and I've got way more to do than I can handle. I don't suppose you'd be almost done putting the clarinet back together?
She's like, now that like he's right up in her face,
she kind of the like pieces in your hands.
Is like kind of looking to see if she can see others to suggest. And I think she'll I suppose, and like kind of looks at him just very wistfully and sadly, and like with the broken pieces of the clarinet in her hands. I suppose this could wait till later. My broken pieces of my clarinet, like the broken pieces of my heart. And then she like slowly starts putting them in a pack and just is like,
he says just saying that, he goes, there are some pips in it for you if you're interested.
Yes, well, I guess it is good to help others when we can. All of a sudden, there's
wonderful.
A little bit of a intercept.
Wonderful, he says. Excellent. Good. I'm glad you've agreed. He's like, this way. He marches back towards the little herb area. Apple and Tabitha, what are you two doing after you've sort of heard? Yeah, you've had heard similar things from various people. Oh, Lovage is looking for a bit of help, and there may be pips available, which viewers, by the way, pips are our form of money, which maybe literal pips might be not, depending on who's giving them.
So I have a question for Taylor, which is like, we kind of discussed the idea that maybe at some point Apple might have dropped by the Applewood Inn. Do you think that Apple and Tabitha have ever met?
I think so. I think Apple's staying at the inn, if I remember correctly. So I think, yeah, we definitely have met.
In that case, I'd kind of like to, if it's okay with you, have Tabitha kind of hustle out of the kitchen and come to meet you on her way to go like
That's so weird. Yeah,
that was good because we would have kept going.
Yeah, but also, I don't think stream could see or hear as soon as it went out for you, because I glanced over and all the cameras were just black, and then you got kicked out of the call. So
yeah.
They can hear us. They can hear us.
Hi. Hi, chat.
There's a very simple way to tell whether or not this is happening. Okay, Vidithia is a ray of sunshine.
We're back. I think we're back.
Is a good person.
Are we back, Darcy?
I see us on stream. Our faces.
We're back. Okay, great.
We're in. Oh yeah, we're in the wrong place.
We're a little mixed up.
Just hang out for a sec. Let us know when we're good to go, Darcy.
Rue, you're the GM now, yeah.
That's me. I'm in charge.
You're in the hot seat. Look, you need to have a little bit of tech gremlins, just to christen the stream, just to get us going.
Yeah.
I
we
love
are
the
haunted.
idea that Rue's time has already come into session.
Had one ginger British lady GM with tech issues, so now we have another ginger British lady with tech issues.
Anybody in chat who was here before we took an early break? What was the last thing people heard? I think it was Ella talking about cider, but I could be wrong.
Too powerful.
The cider was too much.
We're good to go.
What was
Okay.
on the cider,
Yeah, I think.
Ella?
Yeah, let's rewind a little bit. So I think we had. So what is it? Tabitha talking with Apple, or
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you were talking with each other about. So just rewind that a little bit.
Yeah, Ella, talk about cider again.
Apple, I feel like we have this conversation every morning. Sometimes I feel like it's just like it's the same day happening over and over again.
Feels like it was just a minute ago.
You would think that at some point Lovage would recruit more consistent help for his herbs, but instead we seem to be conscripted sort of ad hoc every morning, which is quite unusual. But anyway, I brought with me your warm cider.
It's gone. I've already drank the whole thing, and I am getting a stomach ache. It was just so good that I couldn't not.
But yeah, like I think like Tabitha is this like fat strong mouse who is like quite cheerfully sort of walking you over in this like bright clear autumn day towards wherever Lovage is. And I don't know when we see Elchie, but when we see Elchie, I think I also am familiar with Elchie because of you maybe also staying in my inn.
Yeah, you've all been around Basildon Hall for a little bit, so yeah, I think you run into, as Lovage is kind of bringing Elchie over now with the promise of pips, hopefully a little bit more cheerfully. And I think I don't know if Susie has finished off her breakfast and listened at all to what Lady Periwinkle was saying, but if you poke your head around the side of the seed can, you can see a few other little mice that you maybe know gathering around the herb garden. The small part of herb garden.
If this works for you, Ella, I kind of imagine Susie's connection to Tabitha is that Tabitha may be one of the few reasons Susie consistently eats.
Yeah.
Like when she knows to make just one specific, because I kind of assume Susie is the kind of person who has a lot of very specific like sensory and texture issues with food. So I kind of think Tabitha probably knows this and is like, everyone thinks she's super fussy. It's just like, no, I'm not trying to be a fuss. Just every other bit of food that we eat literally causes me to want to break out in hives.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's like, so I mentioned these little like cakes of like apple flesh that have been cooked like toasted marshmallows and caramelized on the outside before. And I think that maybe, and Angela, to you, but like I think maybe the version of this that Tabitha makes for Susie are kind of like little strips, like kind of nougat, that are just like these little, like quite like square, and they've just got like they're consistent enough and thick and chewy enough that they're not too soft or squelchy for Susie, so they've got like they're hard enough, and they've just like they're a little bit more of a tang than the kind of just sweetness, and they're kind of like, just through much experimentation, she's kind of created these little nougat strips that she has like in her pocket for whenever she comes across you in Basildon.
Yeah, there's definitely the look of like a little critter just kind of like peeking around the side of the building. Like she can't be seen. Like she's like, so long as I don't make any movement, no one can find me. But she's very obvious. She's not a sneaky person. She's just like,
I feel like everyone turns around and Love is just like, morning, Susie.
Like Tabitha is going to interpose her like fairly big body for a mouse between like everyone and Susie, and it's just going to kind of be like, okay, so I'm just going to like hide Susie from view a bit so that she doesn't feel too anxious. I'm going to squeeze Apple's arm as I move away from her, and then like just kind of behind my back like give you the little bit of food so that you can kind of stay as hidden as you want to be.
Oh.
She like does just a reflexive like little like popping noise, like whenever she actually eats something that actually makes her feel more safe, or whenever she's comfortable around someone, she makes like a little set of popping noises like with her mouth, and it'll be like a wait, hold on, there we go.
Oh,
much better.
Crisp.
I had to get it just right. It's the right level, but does that. And then she also like does the little like duckling tiny little walk behind like the little ducklings do behind their mom, but she does it behind Tabitha. She's like, how are you today, Tabitha? Tabitha's like I think one of the few people she ever interacts with like an actual like conversation, because Tabitha doesn't make her feel weird.
Many feelings right now. Well, you know, I'm pretty well. I was just saying to Apple, I mean, I'm not sure how long Ainsley's really got on their probation at the end, I suppose. I mean, I feel terrible to sort of put a cousin out, but I mean, I wouldn't be putting them out anywhere so much as suggesting that perhaps they seek other employment. I was thinking of perhaps suggesting that they speak to Elchie, because they seem like a real performer, and I think that they maybe got a talent there. And then I was talking to Apple about her new apprentice at the blacksmiths, and we got a lovely set of cakes in today. I think they're going to be really lovely, and I just like it on an autumn day like this, you know, when it's all clear and blue and bright. How about you? You look like you've been up a little late. Did you lose one of your books?
I think she kind of does her own variation of like flapping, except it's more like interpretive jazz hands to the side. So, but that's her form of doing her flapping. It's just a little like happy dance, and it does not happen that often. She is her baseline state is like feral, and beyond that is just a certain level of just on edge. But it's like around like Elchie, around like Apple, and around like Tabitha, like just a couple of people. She's just like, this is what it's like to have my brain actually not running at about 300,000 miles an hour. Oh wait, hold on. Pardon, that would be, what is it, like 18,000 kilometers per hour? I don't know the conversion rate.
I think Apple noticing that LG and Susie are like have joined the group, and we're all kind of together with Lovage, says, are you two coming on an adventure with us? I think it'll be fun to get out and explore, and whatever we're doing with the herbs as well.
Lovage kind of hears you say that and is like, yes, thank you, Apple. Yes, that's what I brought you here for. I was wondering, some of you I think will like this, because I know some of you've been there before. I was wondering if you might be able to help me take these herb bundles over to the Willow Root Market. And the Willow Root Market, some of you will have been there before, particularly Elchie, I think you'll have been there before, and Apple Fritter, you probably have also been there before, is a market in the roots of a willow tree, which is mostly run by some water voles, little guild families of water voles. And the water voles, you would know, trade in a variety of different goods. They have managed to find a source of you know how you can get little tubs of spices, like the little tiny bottles, but obviously that's loads for a vole. And they also make like reed rattan furniture, which is the sort of hat that Lovage is wearing. And they also will trade with Basil and Paul for herbs. So there's a bit of a mutual relationship going on. So I think Elchie, you may have performed there because there's an inn there as well that you can stay at. And Apple Fritter, you might have visited before to see their own sort of, there's a family that does sort of like clay work, so you might have maybe talked to them before as well. So Lovage explains that he has 4 bundles of herbs, which coincidentally happen to fit in 1 slot of an inventory each, that he needs delivered to Willow Root Hall, if you would be so kind, and he can give you 20 pips for expenses if you need to stay over, but he can also offer on return another 100 pips between you to say thank you for helping him with the job. And obviously you'll be trading for some different items and stuff at the market as well. Yes, Apple, if you might be interested.
Apple definitely like looks in her like pip purse, and it's like the thing of like, obviously it wouldn't be a moth, but like a little, because I have 2 pips right now, I think. So it's like
level 1.
120 pips is like nodding excitedly.
Yeah, I think similarly, Tabitha is thinking about the fact that she decided to sign up Ainsley for PAYE and a pension and stuff, and actually she can't afford that many additional employee expenses, so she's ended up like spending out like way more like in the Apple Inn than she went to this month, and so she's kind of like, I also have no pips. Just, I think a trip would be lovely.
Yeah, I think Elchie similarly, she kind of shakes her pack, which is mostly just the clarinet bits shaken in there, and then like a singular pip is rolling around in the back, which is all she has. She's like, yes, after careful consideration of all of the business prospects I have, I think this is the correct one for me. And just kind of nods sagely.
Excellent. Glad to see you're all motivated.
What are the herbs that we're going to be carrying?
Oh, just a mixture, and he points out, as you might see, I've drawn some herbs on the map. We have sage, we have a bay leaf. Obviously, in any good bundle, there should be a bay leaf that will then get tossed out. Some thyme, and there's some little sprigs of fresh parsley as well, which he says these ones need to get there reasonably quickly so they don't dry out. So there's just sort of like, he's bundled them into, for mice it would be sort of like, you know, like a sort of a bundle of wood gets kind of roped together. It's sort of an equivalent of like herbs that you can kind of put in your pack and carry with you. And yeah, there's 4 total, which either one of you can choose to carry all of them, or you can have one each. Or at this point, Azealia rocks up as well and is like, Tabitha, darling, where have you been? I ate 1 more of, maybe 2 more of the caramel bars. Are we doing something fun?
You know, it just now occurs to me, Azealia, that your tab hasn't been paid for about 2 years. So I'm just wondering whether or not you feel like you might maybe accompany us on this trip. And I would consider it. And like at this point, like Tabitha comes over, like claps a hand on Azalea's shoulder. I would consider it a kind favor to a friend.
Would you? Well, I don't do adventuring anymore ever since I bent that whisker, but I'm not sure if I'd be up for it, Tabitha.
I assure you, Azalia, all you will have to do is hold someone else's food, which is a skill that I have observed you are very good at.
I am.
The last few years.
Tabitha, I am actually very good at that. I reckon I could do that. I could even hold a little torch at the same time and light your way if you wanted. As torchbearer, she can also hold a torch for you. Yeah, I could do that. I could do that, and maybe we'd wipe off a few weeks worth of the tab, perhaps.
Yeah. I
months,
reckon if we, if we get there and we get back again, then I'll give you. And again, she's kind of doing the mental math. I don't think Tabitha is great at running the business side of the inn. I'll give you 3 months.
Brilliant, great. Her reaction implies maybe that was a bit much, but you're like, yes, great. Yeah. Oh, that sounds wonderful, Tabitha. I'm totally ready. Lovage also sort of like catches your attention a little bit more to give you a bit more information about your journey. And I'm just going to pop you over to a different map. To the area map. Now, using your judgment here, you may not know every single place in detail on this, which is why I haven't labeled it, but this is a sort of map of the general area of the cottage and the woodland. Some of you would have traveled to some of the different places around here. And so the Willow Root Market is here, which I'm just putting a little circle on, and you can see there's a small mouse in the river, a vole. But to get there, Lovage reminds you that probably the best way is to first go over via the Frog Crossing, over via Castle Anura, which he says should be fine. The frogs are usually pretty good about letting people pass. You might need to pay a little toll. You might need to offer them some of the herbs as well, just to let you across. And he says, actually, it's interesting. This morning, normally they have their drawbridge up and you have to call out, but I think some of the people out who've been collecting some of the apples said that they saw the drawbridge was down. My pixel, my captions. Let me just grab that. It says, the drawbridge is down this morning, so it'll be even easier for you to get across. Maybe check in and see how they're doing as well.
I think Apple goes to Susie as we're kind of getting loaded up and like getting information, and says, Susie, are there any of these bundles that like smell good or bad to you? Because I think you should have first pick if there's one that you want to carry.
She like takes a moment. I'm framing it this way only if it's okay with everyone else. She kind of wanders around everyone in the group and like does like a small sniff of everyone, and then tries to see which of the bundles smells the closest to anyone in the group. Because in her head, if it smells like the group, it should be fine, because she likes the group. Therefore, she associates comfort with the group.
I mean, if that's what you're doing, then can I maybe well, this is just one idea, but like just thinking of like herb combinations and stuff. I've given way too much thought to how you could cook apples. But I was gonna say maybe like the sage or the thyme, because I can see like I would definitely make like little apple stews that are like savory stews with sage or thyme in them that are quite salty, and definitely the apple wouldn't, and therefore anyone staying there like Apple, like Elchie, like we would probably smell a bit like the foods that are cooked in the inn, if you wanted to.
That sounds good.
I think if that's the case, then I think she goes up to the sage and the thyme like next to them, and she looks thoughtfully at both of them. She's very happy while looking at both of them, and does the little like expressive little like side jazz hand flapping that she does. But I also think like you hear her mutter something under her breath to the effect of like, this reminds me of a crystal that I found at one point that when I started licking it, my tongue started to have a very like I started to feel very dehydrated after I licked it, but I didn't want to stop because it was a nice flavor. You get the impression she probably found like a little like salt crystal.
A little salt kernel, yeah.
And but she didn't realize it because she's not always the most perceptive of everything around her. Because that's oddly salty, very salty things don't bother her.
I love those little crystals whenever I've found one out. And next time you find one, you should hang on to it, because there are some mice they'll give you some pips for them.
Lovage nods, yeah.
But
salt's valuable around here.
Why do I want pips? I don't really use pips for anything.
Books?
You don't really eat.
Well,
Go to Tabitha to get food.
you could give your pips to Tabitha, and then she can make more food.
That's really great. That's good thinking.
Susie,
do
you
this.
also remember in the back of your mind, buying paper, proper paper, is quite expensive because trying to find paper as a mouse quite difficult. So if you were to want to repair any books or things, it would take quite a few pips as well.
I think to acknowledge that bit of information you've passed on, I think she looks to like the several like cut marks that have been made, probably by claws of some sort in her clothes, and she's like, oh right, that's the last time what happened when I tried to get paper. All right. And it's like, it's not small things, it looks like a bird's claw or something. So she's probably avoided something really terrible.
I'm going to give a little bit of lore for you. I think it actually looks a bit like some sort of predator mammal claws, if that's okay with you.
I am,
but that's something about for in the future.
I'm so here. She's like, I met my enemy the other day. The enemy who keeps me from my paper. Truly the worst of creatures.
If you have pips, you could pay someone else to get your papers.
Then I wouldn't have the joy of finding it and getting to like put hands over it. It's a very nice feeling when you get to actually like move your hands over like very freshly like made paper.
Maybe you could use your pips to pay someone to distract your enemy, and then you could run in, get your papers, and then you'd be all set. You'd have everything you need.
Some people are all about the danger and adventure, and they love getting pips for it.
Oh, I remember you had a song about a person like that. It was a very good song. I did enjoy it.
That's true. And then she just starts singing it.
Yeah. Should this perhaps transition us into a little travel montage of Elchie playing a little tune as you set off? So in Mausritter, we've obviously had our lovely little morning view talking with people. When you're traveling, you travel via a certain amount, which I can see, which are hexes, which I haven't shown you on this map, to get to the Frog Castle, Castle Anura, is 1 hex, which would take the morning. It would take 1 watch. And then to carry on to, on the other side of the bank, to the Willow Root Market is 2 hexes. So if all goes well, you should be able to get there by the afternoon. The evening, sorry, because it's the morning now. While you are traveling over hexes and things, in the morning and the evening is when I roll to see if anything is about, if you meet anybody. And obviously, if you're out and about in the wilderness while that's happening, you might run into someone or something. So with that in mind, it is the morning as you make your way over to the Frog Castle. So if you can see it on this big map, the garden, I'll just highlight for a moment, that's where Basildon Hall is. I'm just doing a circle in the little herb garden, and you make your way over the path and towards the castle. And I'm just going to roll to see if you meet anybody. Nope, it's all fine. It's a lovely crisp morning. A few leaves fall down in your path, but it seems kind of quiet. You do see a silhouette of the cat that you know lives in the cottage, but it's in the window of the cottage at the far end of the garden, so nothing for you to worry about.
Do we know? Sorry to interrupt. Just because please. I want to know. Do we know what the cat looks like?
Yes, you know it is a sort of a brown tabby with like a little grey patch over its ear. And you've seen it occasionally in the garden in the woods before. Doesn't generally tend to sort of bother you too much. Seems pretty happy in the cottage, but does come out. There is a cat flap, so yeah.
I do want us to recognize the like terrible mousy horror though of living in the shadow of what is
quite scary.
A dragon, like which is like, oh look, there's the person eating dragon that lives next to our house.
There's the cat perched on the windowsill overlooking Yeah, absolutely.
What a
yeah.
lovely sight.
Yes.
Yes, I, Taylor, am delighted, but Apple is
Oh, yeah.
horrified.
But Apple, you can breathe a sigh of relief. You do see the cat jump down into the cottage and away from the windowsill, no longer watching you, so you're on good. Yeah, you have a question?
Why? But the only thought that I had in response to all of the dragon imagery is to imagine there's some mouse that lives in Basildon Hall that just like has like a cigar. At one point, people go up to them to talk about what have you been through. Just like, you ever dance with a feline devil in the moonlight?
Yes. Okay, so yes, so the back of this garden actually kind of like goes straight onto this little stream, which to you all is quite a big river, but is actually just quite this small little brook. And the edge of the grass slopes down into some mud straight onto sort of the banks of the river. And you can see there is this little quite a large rock in the center of the stream, where a little sort of castle has been carved. You can see little crenellated tops, and it's sort of dug down into the rock. And you know that this is where a lot of frogs live. Now, in Mausritter, you can't actually speak particularly easily with non-mammals, I believe. Let me just, so language, you can speak with other mice fine. Other rodents, you can speak okay, but they might be a bit different from you. Other mammals, you can like roll to see if you can understand them. And then otherwise, you can't sort of directly communicate, but I think the frogs and the mice do have a sort of like a little bit of a shared sort of sign language of like, what ho, you know, bring the drawbridge down and so on. So, you know, there's ways to kind of chat with them that are not talking. And yeah, normally you would have to wave to get the drawbridge down, but today it's actually already down. And a little sort of like wooden drawbridge, and then rocks cut into the rock that lead up to the doors of this castle. Which again, Applefritter and Elchie, you've probably been through, and you know that the top layer is sort of like a welcome hall for other animals crossing the river. But yeah, normally you'd have to call to get this drawbridge down.
I feel like Apple feels like this is the vibe of like when you like come home and your door is like unlocked, where you're like, did I do this or do I need to call someone?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Apple kind of like puts a hand up and is like, I can't tell if this is convenient or dangerous that this drawbridge is already down. But what do you all think that we should do?
Yeah, I think LG is getting like little strands of fur on the back of her neck are kind of standing up, but also they're like, oh, well, normally you have to wait so long for the frogs to bring the drawbridge down.
Yeah.
I can compose an entire song in the time that it takes. This is, maybe they knew that we were coming. And it's kind of like looks over at Lovage like that. What a kind of convenience that you have this relationship with the frogs. So maybe I should travel with you more often. I could carry some things if
just to
the
confirm,
drawbridge is always down.
Lovage has not come with you. He's asked you to go in his stead. But he
He
did
sent
tell
us.
you earlier he had heard from people coming back that the drawbridge seemed to be down. Yeah.
Gotcha. In that case, we'll amend that to LG just being like, Lovage really knows his stuff.
Yeah. Lovage's got the contacts.
Apple's just kind of very performatively scratching her head, like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't leave the town very often, but I mean, well, the village. I know we've been wanting for a long time to become a town. I know Lady Periwinkle is very interested in getting our status amended, but I mean, both of you seem CBCs and travelers, and if there's nothing, we could just go in. Azalea.
Azalea has procured a small flask of cider. Yes. I say go straight in.
Yes, well,
They're obviously expecting us.
Since you are such a charming and personable sort of individual, perhaps you could be a sort of forward runner for us.
I mean, okay, sure. She seems less confident being asked on her to go on her own, but she's like, I suppose I could if you want me to.
I'll be right behind you.
Okay.
And I mean, I do mean that. I think Tabitha isn't completely ice cold like she is, like, but she is just kind of like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And I trust Azalea to be quite good at getting herself out of trouble if she needs to, because she's very good at just escaping consequences. So I'm kind of like, all right, like, puts her in front, like, slowly kind of pushes her forwards.
Okay. And she starts mousing away up the steps. And yeah, there's these sort of windy steps. And I'm just going to move you onto a different map so you can see what's going on. And there'll be a bit of fog of war because you can't see everything yet. But yeah, so Azealia makes her way up these steps. And she sort of also looks over the edge of the drawbridge as she goes past. She goes, ooh, river's a bit churned up today, and you can see it's there's been rain in the night, and it's quite like a rushing river for you as mice. And she said, ooh, it's a bit of a busy day on the river. And she goes up to the doors and she looks back at you, puts a paw on the door. Oh, it's open. And as you kind of are following her, you can see actually the double doors are actually already open a little bit. And she puts a paw.
At this point, Tabitha's like, nope, all right, thank you very much. That was excellent work. Very good lighting the way. You excellent at illuminating things.
One day's tab down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
shall I go to the back now?
Yeah, I'm like, okay. Tabitha is like, with her like decent mouse strength, is gonna like almost lift Azalea off the ground and just like put her behind her.
Oh, that was fun. Oh.
Yes.
Wow, what an adventure already.
Question.
Angela, you were going to say something?
Has anybody stopped Susie from just marching forward? Because she's just had her head in a book the entire time. And
I'm sure Apple would put her hand out, like not like hold you back, but be like, like this might be something might be going on in here.
Yeah.
In fact, actually,
Elchie would just be in your way, just accidentally.
It's when an NPC gets stuck against a wall with auto movement
and NPC.
I'm imagining it is Susie maybe near the back, having walked a little slowly. Well, what is your marching order? I suppose I should ask. If Tabitha's gone to the front, we've moved Azealia bodily to the back with Susie.
I think Apple's right behind Tabitha, and just for clarity, since the inventory system is like kind of matters. Before now, I think Apple's been carrying her little hammer. I am going to switch out my inventory so that I have my sling and stones ready to get into action, so they're not in my bag. And I also have a little button shield, like a metal button shield that I've made myself. And also, I guess this is up to you, Philippa, but I was imagining that the armor that I have is like made out of like a pop tab, like made out of like kind of a couple like this. So that's kind of what what Apple is doing, kind of standing behind Tabitha, maybe even like kind of trying to get the shield like in front of both of us, since Apple's pretty worried.
Yeah, cool. And Elchie's sort of in the middle, presumably behind.
Yeah,
great. Okay.
I think like if I've seen that Tabitha has got out, sorry, if I've seen that Apple has got out her weapons, then I would draw my little sewing needle sword, just like cautiously, sort of just standing with it in front of me.
Yeah.
Listening, you can't has swapped out her clarinet for her little banjo weapon.
See? Noticed anything yet?
Looking at all of this, wondering, I was like, wait, are we going to talk, or are we going to fight, or what are we doing? Should I be prepared for something?
I'm gonna look back at you and say, well, to be quite honest, right now we don't know, but if you do have anything with which to defend yourself, I suggest that you prepare it just in case.
Can do. She pulls out seemingly like, I forget what the name of the cartoon of like the comic cat is. This like Felix the Cat, the one that has like the bag that has infinite space inside of it or what have you. She pulls out like this strange kind of metallic wooden device that she's found somewhere, that it looks like somewhere between like I'm imagining the shirt launchers that are done at like football games
Yeah.
and stuff. It looks like a combination between that and a slingshot, and it looks like the end of it has the tops of like when you're juicing a lemon, one of those, but it's designed so that when an acorn is fired through it, it'll do like a shrapnel blast. So it's an acorn launcher. She doesn't quite understand what it is. She just knows that when she fires it, it does this, and it hurts
People get out of the way.
and they'll get out of the way, which is all she cares about. She understands consequences. And everything else is just sort of happenstance.
Apple
Needs to know the main details.
Apple puts up a paw to like make sure that it's not pointed like
Yeah.
at any of us. It's just kind of up into the air a little bit.
Swing it upward.
Yeah.
I think Elchie's like, oh, wow, Susie, you are ready. Ready to go.
I'm real nice, and I try my best to do good to everyone. But if someone tries to hurt me or my friends, they, better not expect to live beyond this day.
Azealia like looks at you and is like, I'm staying by you. Holding a square of apple cake in her paw, like, good, I'm at the back. So Apple and Tabitha at the front. You can't really hear any noise coming from through these doors, and you can see there's a little gap, and you can see it leads into a sort of a stone flagstone, looks like a sort of entrance hall, which Apple, you would know, is like the sort of the receiving room before you go into the Great Hall. And there's no one in there. You would expect normally there would be a frog guard there.
I turn to Tabitha and I say, I know you maybe haven't been here before. This isn't normal. There would normally be someone here.
Okay. Well, do I suppose we should probably just give him one chance? I mean, I know they can't really speak like the same language as us because of the whole having different speech organs and things with the tongues, but perhaps we should give him a chance to make some kind of sound, just in case, just on the off chance.
Maybe I could try to make like a frog sound.
That's what I was gonna say for Elchie. I feel like Elchie was gonna like pull out her clarinet.
Elchie should do it. Elchie should do it. So like Apple says that, and Elchie's like getting out the clarinet. Can it be a thing? Can it be a thing where Apple goes to like open her mouth and then Elchie does the
like does the thing? Apple's like, oh my god.
I made that noise. Yeah.
I didn't even think I was making any sound.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had that in me.
Cool. So Elchie gives a little toot.
And then she plays her clarinet.
You gotta get warmed up.
Okay. You toot. No noise.
I don't love this.
Yeah, I think Elchie is looking around worried too. They usually say something, if nothing else, to just correct that sound means nothing. Which I've learned, but it does get their attention, which is really all that you need. I think maybe Elchie might try to like look around to see if it just looks like it's abandoned entirely, or if it looks like they've been, I don't know, there's been like a ruckus.
So you're like looking around the outside before you kind of go in, or
just trying to see if there's any signs of like a forced door or something.
This door looks like it wasn't forced. It was just unlocked and left open as if someone left and didn't bother closing it. Also, as you're all looking around, everyone can kind of have a little look around. You lean over the edge and you see there's like some little stairs down to where there's like a little sort of, normally a boat dock, with some little chains, like little iron rings in the very bottom of the rock hammered in. Normally you would expect to see a little flotilla of little boats. which are like little little conch shell boats. And you can see there are 2, but there are 5 rings, and so 3 of them are empty, as if some of them have been taken.
All right, so Elchie and Apple, you've traveled before. Is there like a long way round where we just avoid this whole scenario? Because I gotta be honest, I would rather not die. And I don't know what's happened here, but frogs are quite big. They're often bigger than us. And if there's something that's happened to them, then I don't know whether it'll be something that'll happen to us. But if they've all got away, then that's a little nerve-wracking. So what if we just walked away from the spooky building and didn't.
Are there enough boats that we could take the boats?
Yeah. You think that you could probably fit 2 people per boat, although of course that would not fit Azealia as well. You do know further along there are some like stepping stones, but it's quite like almost rapids style, so it is a bit harder to cross, and that's further down the river. And swimming across in this sort of, after the rainwater and things from earlier, it is it'll be a bit of a risk to swim across. But yeah, you think you can maybe go down and get the boats, but what I will say is, like, you can see that they're chained up and there's like an entrance into the rock. It's not like a sort of like easy passage down on the outside. I wouldn't let you do it that easily.
Do we know what kinds of animals could be a danger to us here?
Mm-hmm. Normally the frogs are not a massive danger to you. You're correct, they are a little bit bigger than you, but normally they're friendly. Sometimes the frogs also host other amphibians like newts and things like that, who are normally also friendly. The biggest risk for you around the river is if you fall in. There are trout in this river who are much bigger and would probably see you as a nice little tasty snack. Yeah, you've all been warned against swimming in this stream.
I definitely tell Tabitha that, since she was just saying like maybe we could go around. I'm like kind of saying like maybe we could, but if we fall out of the boat, blah blah blah, the different stuff, and mention the trout.
All right.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything we could, perhaps if we get something small that we could toss into the hole, and then something that makes a sound and maybe gets the attention of anything that might be in there, it would at least tell us if there was something in there, something that reacts to sudden movement, for example.
Yeah, that would work.
Metal.
It's a ranged weapon. Just noting that for the record. Like, I make that as that gesture as a joke, but it technically kind of is. It's a launched weapon.
You do have acorns, yeah.
Could we suggest like a slow motion, like the 3 of us, like Elchie, Apple, and Tabitha, just stepping back, and we like the camera turns to look at Susie as she
Yes, absolutely.
I think I want to make this just slightly more ridiculous if possible.
Sure.
I did describe it technically as kind of like a shirt launcher, so I think she kind of like has to like hold it in position and aim it like someone positions an RPG.
Yes,
it's
yeah,
just like
sure.
that. She's like, okay, fire.
Cool. So you're sort of firing it towards the doors and through the doors. And goes through. The doors sort of push open a little bit, and you see a little bit more of the room, and they bounce along the stone floor, tick, 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 lots of noise, and you don't hear anything. Nothing responds, and you can see now the doors have been pushed open a little bit more, that this room seems to be empty, or is empty. I will say, not seems, it is empty.
Just make a run for it. It's not that big of a haul. Maybe if we just get a move on, we can get through.
I think that's a good idea. I think the one thing to note is that if there is something in there that causes people to leave and it's smart enough not to react when someone talks or makes a movement, and that's a real scary kind of clever animal. but I also agree that we're just going to be stuck here forever, and I love your moxie, so let's do it.
I'm with this plan. I mean, if it's that smart, it would probably just, while we're talking right now, as we're deliberating whether to go in or not, it would probably just come out and it'd get us. I feel like if it hasn't gotten us yet, then there's nothing to be gotten by.
Apple says very performatively, if it's that smart, then it would never mess with us.
Yeah, that's right. If it knew what was like, now she just goes off like on and on about
Azalea's just following behind you out to like, yeah.
I think Susie just kind of like goes up to Tabitha. Like if Tabitha's at all like hesitant or anything, I think she goes up to her and she says, "Friend, I want you to know I'm going to offer you some advice that a good friend of mine, Friedrich, used to tell me, is that whenever you stare into the void, that it will look back at you with a very tasty, delicious acorn, and that the void will lead you to something wonderful if you just are willing to face it with bravery."
I mean,
Also,
I do
hello there,
like an
Horde of
acorn.
Tales.
Yes,
Lovely
hello
to have
there.
you
Thanks
raiding
for
us.
raiding.
Hello, raiders.
Thank you.
We are playing Mausritter.
Yes. So yes, she's telling you about her friend Friedrich, who told her about staring into the void.
Well, I mean, I do like an acorn. I think I think if it's okay with you, Angela, like Tabitha like reaches down to like hold Susie's hand, like Susie's little paw and paw, just like as like just like a little kind of friend thing. It's like, all right, are we ready?
No. Just starts walking forward anyway.
Perfect. Let's go.
Okay, so you head through the doors into the room, and you've successfully beat my first puzzle of a door. Hooray!
You're doing better than most adventuring parties. Most of them never get past the door. You're doing better.
We're so easy.
Door
It's so
defeated.
easy for us to die. Anyone in chat?
It is. Caution is advised. Okay, so yes, you see, yes, it is this little entrance hall. There's some little chairs. There's also like a little, you see like a little lever built into the thing that is the wall, which is for pulling up or lowering the drawbridge. And you see there's also like a little curtain drawn across a sort of side room, and then a pair of doors again which are sort of half open,
More doors,
and a little chest which is open, and you see is for like leaving, like it's for like leaving wet clothes in and things. So there's like some little coats, a little raincoat in there as well.
Interesting. Is the drawbridge just large enough for mice, or is it large enough for like other animals to come up?
It would be large enough for something like a vole or a rabbit, but not big enough for a cat.
Okay.
So for example, if you needed a cart or something to go across, it could.
Okay. I think Elchie is going to try to pull it up behind just in case.
Yep. You pull the lever, and then some sort of mechanism somewhere you can hear in the building starts to sort of pull the drawbridge back up. And yes, it's raised.
Elchie's like, this is either a great idea or we stopped anyone from being able to help us. She's like, I like to make things interesting. Keeps going.
She locks us in here. Says, I like to make things interesting.
We get closer and closer to like mouse saw, and I'm not okay with
Time for the game.
Right now, the only thought I have is in regards to the situation is that there are no good decisions on our part. There's just varying kinds of bad decisions. It's just which one do you want to go with?
Yeah, for real. I wanna go over to the chest with the raincoat in it and like poke about and see if there's anything interesting in there.
You see underneath the raincoat is a little dagger in a beetle leather sheath, which if you were to take it would be a light weapon. worth 10 pips. And also, like, looking over the raincoat itself, you think that this would be quite useful if you wore it to protect against weather effects. So when you're traveling, I roll to see what the weather is like, and certain weather, things like very heavy rain, make your travel slower and more difficult and things like that. Yeah, that's what you find in the chest, is a little dagger and a raincoat.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think Tabitha's gonna look around like a little shamefacedly, because she's aware that these belong to someone else, but also those people aren't here, and is gonna kind of be like, just tentatively put the raincoat on, wait for someone to tell her off.
Azalea's sort of actually like, stylish.
You think so? You know, I've been thinking that I should get a new coat, because, you know, Lady Periwinkle, she has such a nice dress, and I haven't changed these dungarees for several years. You know, I just keep mending them because they keep getting torn and occasionally scorched. And I was thinking, you know, like, it seems like
a lot of food stains.
Yeah, well, no, thank you. A lot of those are your fault, Azalea, because you won't keep your paws away from my cooking. You're gonna just come bringing up my food stains. Well, thank you. But anyway, I think maybe, like, I'm gonna hold the dagger and the beetle leather sheath and kind of look at it a bit pensively, and then look at the others and say, any of you particularly quick with your paws?
I think Apple gestures to, like, the sling that she's carrying and then says, I've got my hammer in a sling. I think I'm set for that, and I'm getting kind of overburdened, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Elsie just kind of swings her banjo back and forth. She kind of has to carry with both paws, and she's like, I'm good. Blunt force, I've got it. Looks great on you, though.
Yeah, if you're wearing it, by the way, Ella, it'll be on one of your body slots. I'm sure you have worked out already, but just to let you know.
Thank you. Susie, would you?
She looks at you, and especially in response to any, like, sort of look you had of, like, guilt or what have you, she just, like, puts a very, very, like, gentle paw on your shoulder, and she says, remember, friend, the nature of material goods and ownership is a fleeting and ephemeral concept. I would happily take the dagger.
I can give you the dagger.
Incredible.
Right,
It reads a lot. She just has she has her special interest is just knowing a bunch of really weird esoteric stuff.
Well, I think she like, Tabitha gives you the dagger, and as she does, she's like, yes, and I suppose the possession is 9/10 of the law.
My friend Carl would not agree with this. A lot more things should be shared.
I'm desperately trying to think of a mouse pun for Marks, but I haven't thought of it yet. So anyway, so you distribute the raincoat and the dagger, and yeah, that's kind of the main things you see in the chest. As I say, there's also this little curtain that's kind of covering a little side room. You can see it sort of leads into another bit of paved area, and then another set of these big doors that you can see a little bit through, which leads into a sort of, looks like it will be a big grand hall.
Would LG or I, either of us, know where the door versus the curtain are likely to lead, having potentially been here before?
Sure. I think this is probably Elchie knows that the frogs are a bit of a rambunctious sort and are rather fan of partying and big feasts and things, and the curtained area is a little toilette, to powder one's nose and perhaps freshen up, and other things. And the big doors are what would lead to the hall, the main area, and through across as well.
Okay. I think in that case, LG is like, kind of gestures towards the curtain, is like, this is the one chance for a bathroom break. So if you need to go, this is it. I think she'll pop in there, kind of not very cautiously. I think she's just gonna go in because she's like, it's a bathroom. Like, what could it be? What could be in there?
There you go. Empty as well. not many smells. Doesn't seem to have been used for a little while.
Yeah, I think she just kind of rummages around just in case there's any signs of anything, and then just kind of freshens up and comes back out.
Yeah, you don't really, it's pretty plain. You do see the little hole leads straight down, and you can hear there's water sounds from the bottom. It sounds like it goes down towards the river.
I think Apple still is like, okay, the plan is we're just running through here. So as Tabitha is like starting to look around and like people are kind of exploring, I think Apple is going, knowing where Elchie went, is gonna poke her head through the doors that she thinks are the way out. So not like running ahead of everyone, but like kind of looking ahead.
Cool. I will show you the next little bit. Whoops. And you see a big hall, which is also empty. So this is the main sort of feasting hall of the frogs. And what you see as you will start to head through, Apple first and then everyone else, is it's again this big sort of like stone paved area with 3 large wooden tables and little stools and chairs at each. There are windows on each side with these sort of like sort of stained glass illustrations of frog spawn, a tadpole, and a frog. And at the far end is this huge mosaic with a similar sort of like design showing in a sort of an oval, like a sort of a circle, like the circle of life of the frogs, of the frog spawn, the tadpole, and the frog itself. Also at that far end where the mosaic goes down, it goes down below this level, as there's a set of sort of windings, like a staircase that leads down to a lower level. On that far end as well, there is a small door that leads, Apple you would know leads through to sort of like the other side, which would be where the other drawbridge to cross the bridge would be as well. Finally, the final thing you notice straight away is that there are some cups and saucers and spilled drinks and the remains of what looks like a feast that's been left. It looks like people kind of, the frogs maybe left in a bit of a hurry, or, you know, just abandoned it halfway through. There's some spilled wine and things like that as well.
I think Apple looks back at everyone else and is like, do you think we should just run across, or should we look and see if there's any? I mean, the frogs have been awfully nice to us. I would hate if any of them were hurt here and in trouble, but I would also hate to encounter whatever they ran from.
What do you think, Elchie? You've also been through here before.
You just look over and Elchie is kind of at one of the tables, like about to eat, like, and she's like, what?
I also think, like, as we look over at you, because you said that you powdered your nose like in the toilet, like I kind of pause and go, you know, your fur is looking lovely. Did you do something different with it?
I brushed it up just a little bit so the little black and white flecks shine, and she kind of like not flexes, she kind of like just preens a little bit.
It really suits you. It really suits you. Well, okay, here is my problem. I feel like they've gone to the Bloomin' Rapture, and we're gonna be next.
The rapture.
And I'm really concerned about that. I don't know what would make them leave in the middle of their meal, but generally speaking, not a great sign. Also, oh no, Elchie, what if it was poisoned?
No.
Yeah, I think she hasn't quite. She was like about to eat something as she was called upon, and then with all the compliments about her fur, she kind of forgot about that. But they have gotten back to their food and is putting something in their pack, and then they're like poisoned.
The food that's around, it mostly looks like it's a frog delicacy, salted snails, a little snail steak. I think as you're like, ooh, is it poisoned? You all hear as Azealia is having a small glass of plum wine. Like, Poison? What? A little bit of wine on her muzzle.
It just like lovingly, not at all violently, but more in a way that you would like as a kid to a kid kind of thing, just smack the cup out of her hand and just like,
I already drank some.
No.
yeah, no, well, you know what? Like we can mitigate the damage. But you don't know where that's been. You don't
My
know who's
paws feel
drank it.
tingly. Oh,
don't know how
Tabitha,
much-
what if it was poison?
Can I say that? Does Azalea just swoon? Because I think I just catch her.
Yeah. Not a
It's
full
just-
swoon, but just sort of like sinks like, oh, Tabitha, hold me.
Just kind of hold her for a second, push her back up onto her feet.
Oh, I feel much better. I don't think it was poisoned, you know. In
Well,
fact, it was quite
that's-
tasty.
Well, all right then. Well, I suppose we should pick up some food if it's here. But I Apple, I think you're right. We should just get out of here fast. I don't
Apple's
wanna...
already on the other
Yeah.
side. Like, just like run like on all fours, basically, very
Are-
quickly
Is
over to the other
Tabitha-
side.
Is Tabitha looking at like like the dust cloud image of Apple left
Like
behind?
dotted line.
Yeah.
Outline.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, just like the little mousy scamper of the foot.
It's
Yeah.
so inconvenient because that means I have to like put my
Yeah.
like I have to like put my stuff somewhere else, but like I just run.
You've just been like slowly packing it away and then like, oh.
Exactly.
Okay. I think actually as you do that, Apple, as you kind of get to the far door and you kind of look down quickly into the stairwell, you see there's, I don't know if you probably haven't been allowed down here before because this is more like the frogs area, but you have seen down the stairwell before as you pass through. There's this sort of fountain with like a little frog statue in it, and the fountain seems to be, normally it's just clear water, but there seems to be some sort of weird like goo scum on top of the water, and as you're kind of quickly looking down, you do hear a from deep within the rock.
Does it sound like a frog?
Yeah, like a sort of a froggy, but not like a normal frog ribbit, more like they seem, I would say like a confused frog ribbit is the best way to say it, like a
I look back at it and try to make the same sound back.
Ooh.
So which is just like "Erp."
Amazing. I think this should be a will save
Oh,
to
jeez. Okay.
see how this thing reacts.
Okay. My will is
Um,
good.
I believe, hang on, let me just double check my thing about morale and meeting things. I believe it is well, but let me just double check if I can find the page. Of course I cannot. Here we go. Oh no, here we go. Actually, what I would like you to do is roll 2d6 for me to show what the reaction of this, whatever it is down
okay.
there, is.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I will do that then. One is a 1 and the second is a 6.
So a 7. Okay. You hear the ribbit kind of goes, "Brr." Still confused, unsure is what it says in the book. Unsure. So you do hear a little sploop of feet from, again, quite far down.
So it's not, the sound isn't coming from the water in the fountain. The sound
No, it
is
seems to
coming
be
from
further
okay.
away, yeah, as if it's underneath you and a bit further along.
I look over at Elchie and I say, bring your clarinet over here. I can only make so many frog sounds.
You're muted.
You're muted.
They scamper over. They're like, "Oh, I hear you practicing your frog sounds. They're
I
very
can-
good."
Thank you. I can do confused, but I don't know how to do friendly.
Confused is a useful one. I don't think LG has really realized that you've been hearing frog sounds, so they're just
and
like,
I don't tell you. I got one track mind.
although I think because you're like, oh, but I don't know how to do friendly. LG's like, oh, I can show you how to do that, and like just does like kind of a friendlier sounding note on their clarinet. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm gonna say that's friendly to her.
Okay, I'm just gonna roll something. Okay. You hear a like a sort of like an annoyed ribbit and a little split, 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 split as some feet. You see some little froggy feet emerge, and they seem to be covered in mud. And again, more of this sort of like, it looks almost purple and green, sort of like pond scummy kind of clamminess on these feet. And as they step onto the stairs to start coming up towards you, I think that would be a good place to take our break on a little cliffhanger. Chat, we're going to have a little break for about 15 minutes. Please do stick around. Maybe a little bit shorter than that, but maximum 15, maybe about 10. But do stick around and we'll be back to find out what that strange froggy ribbiting is. Stick around and see us after the break. welcome back. Welcome back to Girls Run These Worlds and our Mausritter game of Mice in the Herb Garden. Let me just check, do I need to let you know anything at the break? Make sure, if you haven't already during the break, make sure to get a bit of water, take any meds you need, and so on and so forth. Make sure you lovely viewers are having as good a time as we are. Where were we? Yes, some little froggy flippers feet standing on the bottom step of the stairs. So yeah, Apple and Elchie, you were standing above this sort of stairwell. You're actually on sort of the opposite side of where, well, I'm imagining if you're kind of near the doorway, I'm just gonna you kind of near the side door, the stairs come down on the opposite side from the door. And so you can kind of see these little feet. And a frog starts coming up, and it's kind of like almost crawling up the stairs as opposed to walking, which is what you would normally expect for a frog. And it doesn't seem very well. It seems like kind of confused, and it's kind of like as it comes up these stairs towards you. What do you do?
I think Elchie kind of looks over at Apple with a cartoony what? Yeah, like a yanking on the they've got a little handkerchief and they like yank on it a little bit.
Apple is like, what's the did you I said friendly. Was it friendly? Did you do a friendly ribbit?
I thought it was it seemed friendly to me. I had the intention of friendliness, which I think is important. She kind of says loudly at the opening.
I think pull it because Lovage had said sometimes people like might like take pips or some of our herbs or something. So I'm gonna take a bay leaf, like a big bay leaf from I'm imagining the herb pack is on my back.
Yeah.
Take a big bay leaf and kind of extend it out to this presumably frog.
Yeah, it looks like it's a frog now that you're seeing it come upstairs. So you're kind of coming to the top of the stairs to sort of,
and extending it, and I'm just gonna go.
Okay. It gets up to the leaf, and you can see that this scammy sort of film is also on its webbed hands, and it's wearing a sort of like a Roman toga, sort of tunic type outfit, which is normal for the frogs. And it sort of looks at the bay leaf and up at you, and its eyes seem a little like, it looks a little dazed, a little confused, a little out of it, and it grabs the leaf off you and then just kind of holds it like tries a little bit.
I should have given it something else, but yeah, I didn't realize it was gonna eat it.
And then it just sort of crouches on the stairs and is like at you, like, I'm going to use my double chin to full effect here. This is what its little frog pouch neck looks like.
I do the same thing.
Just sort of like
instinctively
both eyes at you.
I'm just trying to mirror whatever its body language is. Apple's just kind of mirroring it.
Okay. I think I wonder if this might be a will save to see how it reacts to you. Can you stay calm to kind of get it to calm and mimic you? So this is, well, you know this, but for our watchers, this is a D20. You're trying to roll under your score in Mausritter.
Yes. Oh, and I did. My score is a 9 in will, and I rolled a 2. So
cool. Okay. So as you mimic it, it kind of calms down a little bit. It still seems like a little bit like confused, but it's sort of like goes and sort of like settles down. Tries a bit of the bailiff, get no. It keeps trying it like no. But it's just kind of like and it's just going to look at you.
I think I gesture if Susie and Tabitha haven't already come over, just knowing like hearing everything, I gesture over to you and I say, I think they're sick but nice.
All right then. I'll come over. I think I would have heard both of you making frog sounds.
Yeah.
I'd be brought over by that. Like, and then like when you say something, like come even closer.
Yeah.
I sort of crouch down. I mean, is there anything I can do for this frog? I've never seen you two are the travelers. Have I met a frog before? I imagine I must have had a frog customer at least once. I mean, I don't imagine we spoke very well to each other and they had a strange diet and I had to go find some flies, but
You know, Tabitha, says Cecilia, I think you did have a frog one once. It was I remember, well, there was a mess afterwards. There was a bit of an altercation over who was having what wine, but it all worked out in the end.
Yes, I do remember, Azalea, that I feel like perhaps you were a little bit in the wrong in that particular dispute.
I don't remember it that way, but if you say so.
No, I'm sure you wouldn't remember it that way, Azalea. No, you never do.
I don't know if you remember it that well at all, Azalea.
No, see, Apple, you were there. I remember because you mediated, because you knew frogs, because you travel away to the other town sometimes.
Oh, says a frog looking between all of you. Oh.
Do you have any cider, Tabitha?
Oh, of course, always. I've got a barrel of cider actually, like over my shoulder, so I can kind of get it down, get a little kind of like tiny little like acorn thimble, you know, like the roof of an acorn, like acorn thimble, little bowl of cider. Pick it up with my little paws. Here you go.
Oh. Drinks the cider slowly and kind of like confusedly at first, and as it kind of has a little something to drink, and you know, you see sort of the confusion starts to kind of wane a little bit, and then you see afterwards, and then sort of dips their hand into the cider and sort of washes off the sort of the gunk on their hands and sort of like gets it off them and starts like trying to wash themselves down, basically, as if they're trying to get whatever gunk was on them off, and looks a bit more sort of perky and a bit more with it.
These other doors lead to the outside, right?
Yeah.
I think I like kind of am gesturing to the frog and like point to the doors because there'd be more water out there to kind of be like, we'll come with you, kind of look at everyone else. I think I'm talking so that the other mice understand what I'm saying. But like obviously the frog won't, so I just say, maybe we could go outside. I like gesturing.
I'm gonna grab a handkerchief out of my pocket and try to help scrub the stuff off this frog. Like, I don't know if it's something like some kind of irritant through the skin or something. They've got very absorbent skin, haven't they, frogs? They take stuff in that way.
As you kind of wipe some of it off, and the frog lets you. As it comes away, you can see it's this sort of gunky, purple and greenish sort of, like a salve, I guess, texture-wise. Like it's sort of not very liquid. It's kind of like stuck a little bit to the skin, but it's still wet and moist. And you can kind of bring it off, and like you can kind of smell it. It smells a little bit sort of herby, a little bit sweet. A little bit strange. A whiff of cheese maybe in there as well, just on the tip of your nose.
Susie, have you ever read anything about anything like this?
Really about to ask if Susie had ever read anything.
Susie would definitely know the smell of cheese. I mean, I think all of you know this to an extent, but Susie, you know this most of all. The smell of strong cheese is often an indicator of magic in our Mausritter world. And Apple Fritter, just to kind of finish what you were saying, I think the frog is a little bit confused and actually kind of gestures down. As you sort of mime washing, it's like down, as if to say downstairs.
I look at because the water that I saw down there is very scummy, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like point to a little bit of scum that's still on them and then point to what I see and kind of...
Seems confused. Susie, as Apple Fritter is doing this, what's Susie having realised this smell of magic?
Something unpleasant might be here. I smell cheese. Very strong cheese. We might possibly be dealing with something. This might be a Gouda situation.
That sounds nice. I mean, I love a Gouda.
I was gonna say, if we all know Susie, are we familiar with Susie's classifications of magic, or to us does this just sound like she's talking about cheese?
Yeah, we're like, now is hardly the time to be talking about supper.
It's always time to talk about cheese.
I think there's probably at least a couple of beats that pass before she like turns around and everyone kind of has that look of like, what is going on? And she like kind of like sighs and she's like, oh right, no one knows what's happening inside my head. I wish I knew how to do that. I could just put my thoughts in someone else. Oh wait, that wouldn't be very good. That would probably lead to bad things. Anyways, she like opens up her book, like one of several books that she usually just keeps on her, and she just like opens up to a page that has like a super extensive like think of the equivalent of like a map key to know what different symbols indicate.
Yeah.
like she there's just that, but it's
Is it
just,
different
like,
wedges of cheese?
well, it's more like it's a singular wedge of cheese at the top with like a skull and crossbones over it to indicate like danger, and then like different increments of skull and crossbones indicate severity and level of danger of said one. Gouda's still one of those like probably mid-tier.
Mid-tier, yeah.
It's not like
Gouda,
it's not quite like the like what is it? The like
It's not Defcon
cheese
Stilton, yeah.
It's like the sheep's cheese that are grown in like 2 villages in the world.
Yes,
like,
yeah. It's not the Italian maggot cheese or anything like that.
like a New Zealand cheese that only happens because one family has kept one specific sub-variety of sheep alive for this cheese.
I think the rest of you maybe know a little bit of this cheese classification, although not in the detail that Susie knows it, perhaps.
Ella, in real life did not expect to learn this much about cheese on this stream, but like on reflection, I should have. Okay, so like Tabitha will be like, yes, all right then. Well, it certainly seems as if this poor little frog has been somehow inebriated or disorientated, and something seems to have been done perhaps to their water. Have we seen anything suggesting that that they're anywhere they were drinking or bathing might also have been infected?
I point to like the fountain that I saw down the stairs and with the like sludge and stuff, and I say, I think you're right, but the frog seems to want to go back down there, but I don't think they should.
No, is it just me, or is anyone else really concerned about the timing of choosing to taint the water that's safe, that they can use, the same day when the river is really dangerous and they can't use it? Almost as if, like if you wanted to make sure that they couldn't go wash themselves off somewhere safely, then you would wait until the river was rising and real fast and difficult to swim in. And then they would have to use the baths that they have down here instead of going outside.
If that's the case, then we should get out of here, I think.
Yeah. But also, who would do it? And why? And what did the frogs do? And if they left the drawbridge down, was it because they wanted to get in? Or was it because they wanted the frogs to leave? And if they wanted the frogs to leave, this is the closest castle to Basildon. And if it's the closest castle to Basildon, then why does someone want to take over a castle close to our village?
Oh, says the frog.
Very astute frog. I agree.
I want to say Azalea just burps in response.
Yeah. Azalea has been practicing these frog noises, but it just coming out as burps, yes.
I think I try to like I put my hand out to take the frog's hand and kind of like start walking back, like backwards, but like to the door, the big door. Let's like through here.
He sort of goes with you a bit, and as you're kind of getting to the door, he's like, so he's not sure, but he kind of lets you get to the door if you want to open it and have a look.
Yeah, I'd like to, I think.
Sure. So popping through into the next room is a little small sort of a corridor, and you can see there is another little door leading I can never do directions, to the east. I guess these directions do not correspond with the main map, I will say. But I'll say them as those ones because I think it's easier. To the east, and then you also see there's like this little basket with some what did I say, with some little like snail shells in it, and a sort of like a wooden covering that sort of like takes up a lot of the wall but is kind of raised a little bit off the floor, and you can see there's also some rope that's kind of got a little alcove, like a little groove that it goes up into, and then it's been tied off.
So this looks like it's another drawbridge. Am I interpreting
that? No, more like a sort of a cover for something, like a sort of a door, but it's like halfway up the wall.
Oh. I guess I just pulled a rope. Or whatever it is to try to uncover this.
When you pull the rope, you can see also there is like a little sort of handle in the wooden thing, as if it might maybe slide to the side as well. Does that change what you want to do, or still want to
maybe? I guess my goal was to slide the thing, so I guess if there's it looks like there's something more obvious, then I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll slide the thing.
Sliding it aside, you can see there is a sort of a small square shaft leading downwards, with it's sort of mostly the rock, but there's like crisscross beams supporting it, and you can see at the top there's a sort of pulley lever thing with the rope that attaches, and the rope goes all the way down into darkness below.
So it looks like a dumbwaiter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But whatever the lift is, it's further down.
It's below us.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still holding
the frog's like, and looks down like, whoa. Reaches, eats, takes a little snail shell and is like, oh, as if, there's no snails left.
Oh. I call out to everyone else what I'm seeing in this little room. Are there any other doors in here?
There's another door that leads out to the side, which you think would probably be like getting towards the other side of the building. I'll just, on Roll20, I'll just highlight it for you.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah. I think Apple is definitely like in the mood of like we should just keep like pressing forward because we don't really know what else is here. So is like calling out to you, but also doesn't want to like run into like I'm all alone and then I come across whatever this is.
Yeah. So what does everyone else you've heard Apple and the frog go through into the other room. What do you want to do?
I think Elchie is gonna follow. She's gonna run back and grab one of the snail things that are on the table. She also threw some in her pack, but she's grabbing another one.
If you're interested, there's also some bottles of plum wine. You can grab one, which would be worth 25 pips if sold to someone.
Yeah, she'll just stuff that into her pack. Is getting very like bulky and stuff.
We'll count the snail meat as like part of your rations, but the plum wine does take a slot.
Cool. I think she takes one like snail thing and hands it over to the frog as she comes in, because she's like, you'll probably like this better than I would.
A long tongue.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh no, go ahead. Sorry. I am done.
Have we gotten rid of all of the muck that was on said frog friend?
Yeah, he's used that little handkerchief to kind of wipe down his feet and things as well. Although he still has patches of it kind of soaked into the toga fabric, which is like splotchy, but it doesn't seem to be touching the skin. So yeah, seems to be all cleaned up for now.
Okay. is it possible to try and like non-verbally communicate with said frog? I feel like she's pretty used to communicating in a lot of alternative ways than speaking, because speaking is not her. She's not the communicative type.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite understand how to do that very well with people. So I'm kind of wondering, can she basically like do charades to indicate like if she points down there and she goes and then or and then she does or like smiles like happy face, like do you think there's any way she could try and see if the frog could indicate without anything vocal?
Yeah, I think that's sort of simple enough that it would understand. So it's kind of like maybe use both.
I think Apple starts rummaging around in her bag and pulls out, I have a file as part of like being a blacksmith, and I think I'm gonna try to like scratch like just on like the ground or the wall or something. I think I not like carving, but just kind of scratching and draw a little like draw a little mouse, draw a little frog, and then draw like something with like not specific but like big like sharp teeth and like something kind of scary looking, like maybe like sharp teeth and like cat ears, but then like a snake body or something to just be like really scary, and kind of like point at them and then give the file to the frog to see if the frog can point out like or draw something new.
It's kind of like crosses through the animal and draws sort of like a wave, as if it's like he kind of draws the river and he draws like these little blobs and colors them in, and then draws like some little fizzy lines off it.
I want to. Okay, so Philippa,
yes,
this doesn't work for any reason. I apologize and no worries, and you know all of that good stuff. I have a pot of bright paint.
Yes.
And what I'm wondering is, could I pitch you that it is bright as in phosphorescent, as in glow in the dark, and that I could use it to paint, for example, some of these snail shells to put them down into the dark places like the dumbwaiter and the fountain to see if we can illuminate something down there without going down there.
That sounds cool. Well, I will say I'm totally fine with that, but we can't change the paint later to something else. So that'll be what it does, unless you find some more paint. So yeah, I think that's really cool.
Okay, so I guess I will like get out the paint, cover some of the snail shells, put them on the dumbwaiter, because I guess like from that picture, I'm still kind of on the thought of like something's come in and polluted something somewhere.
Yeah.
And we want to try and find where it is or what it is or how, right? Like so yeah, I'll paint some of the snail shells, put them in the dumbwaiter, and then like roll it down and kind of like look over the edge and see if there's anything that like the phosphorescent kind of illuminates.
Sure. So you'll need to bring it up first, which I will say nothing happens as you bring it up. It's all fine, and it's like a little Tupperware lid box that's had a little thing drilled in it to sort of make a little box, and you can put some of these snail shells in, and there's like windows here, so you can just hold it up to the light for a minute so it starts to glow, and you hear it kind of like stops for a moment as if it's come to one floor, and then it keeps going another floor. So there's at least 2 floors underneath this, and then it gets to the bottom, and what can you see? Let me look at my notes. It's quite hard to see down this, but you can see that I go straight down, and I think you can see that there's another like hatch that's kind of raised a little bit, and you can see there's another like a little corridor that it would go into that sort of matches the shape of the one you're in, as if each floor has something similar. You can also see there's a little bit of coal dust on the walls, especially on the lowest level of this shaft. Is the other thing you can see.
How many levels did you say it looks like there are?
So there's at least 2 below you. So 3, including this one.
On the one hand, we have to get to Willowroot Market pretty quickly so that the parsley doesn't dry out. On the other hand, if something's poisoning the water near where we live, that's probably a big problem also.
Also, Willowroot is upstream from this. So you think anything that would flow through here may have flowed past Willowroot Market as well, which is on the bank.
I think Elchie is kind of just wonders aloud. I wonder where the other frogs went. Do you think they? She kind of like gestures to the one that's here. They just got left behind, or someone got rid of their boats. And I think she's gonna draw some more like frogs, and then draws like an estimation of the little boats and kind of puts a line to them and kind of looks questioningly at the frog, like, did they take boats?
Takes a little file back, a few scratches in. It draws, it sort of draws some of them hopping in, like little arrows of them hopping into the boats. Some of them as if they've like little arrows away, as if they've run away, just off. And then maybe you've drawn 3, crosses through one, and does the little lines, the same lines that were coming from the dots it had put in the river.
Ooh.
And then it goes.
No.
The frogs are going to know the river better than anyone. And if the frogs think that there is something so dangerous in the water that they couldn't live here anymore, it would explain why they wouldn't stay. But it's not, I mean, we don't obviously want to, I don't think moving all of Basildon is a realistic thing. So we need to. So if Willowroot is upstream of here, and maybe that is also connected, then I suppose our options are we could stay here and we could explore this castle and see if we can get any more clues, or we could move on to Willowroot and see if there's clues up there, and then on our way back, if we don't find anything in Willowroot, we can check back here again and see if there's any clues here anyway. Because by that point we'll have eliminated because we don't want to spend all of our time looking around this castle and then find out that it never started here, so we don't actually have that many clues here.
I think Apple looks kind of at the frog, who seems to be doing better, you said, right?
Yeah.
It like seems to have perked up.
Yeah.
And says, maybe what we could do is send our friend here with a message back to Basildon Hall. Like, we could write something. They seem to have recovered. I don't think they're going to want to be here anyway. And if we could get them to go back and deliver the message, someone there maybe can take care of them. And then we'll also let everyone know that something might be in the water to be warned about.
That's true. And I'm going to use one of the snail shells to scoop up some of the gunk, but like a little shovel.
There's also probably some like half empty wine bottles in the other room if you wanted to like get some in that, if you prefer to have a closed container.
Yeah, definitely a closed container, so it's like not gonna get spilled. Okay, so like we'll do snail shell and wine bottle, like scoop some gunk up, put that in, seal it.
I'll use the file, like I'll pick up maybe one of the shells and use the file to like write a little message, basically just saying like, the frog is a friend, something's happened at the castle, and like say something might be wrong with the water, and then I'll take the file and like kind of start scratching in the ground, and I'll draw a picture of the frog and then a picture of like an arrow, and then draw some like pots and things to look like Basildon Hall with like the plants and everything, and then like hand the things to the frog.
Okay.
And I think I'll also reach in my bag and hand 2 pips to the frog, because that's all the money I have.
Oh.
Just kind of be like 2 pips, yeah.
It looks like I think because this is a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
I'm wondering. Let's talk. Do you think this should be Apple Fritter should do a little will save to kind of communicate, or do we think the frog needs to do the will save to try and understand? I am open to either.
Yeah, I'm also fine with either. My will is my best stat, so if I have to roll it, that's fine. I don't know what the frog's
I think I think you should do it. Firstly, because it's more interesting if you roll. But also, yeah, I think you're kind of trying to convey the message. So well, it'll understand. If not, it might get a little confused.
That's a 17, so it does not succeed.
Okay. Well, it looks as if it's understood you and is like,
just gonna be milling around. Who knows where?
Apple feels positive about it.
Yeah, we're all thumbs upping each
yeah.
other.
Like, this is like you're like, oh, yeah, definitely understood.
It's just what the frog version of the John Travolta meme where he's got the coat walking into a room. There's just a frog.
And I've given this frog all of my pips.
All of your money.
For them to just be somewhere doing something.
It's like, great.
Scampers off to the dining hall.
Mission accomplished.
It's
such a good idea.
And you hear the little peak of the drawbridge being lowered, and off it goes.
Sounds like what I sent them to do. Perfect. So then I look back at Tabitha and I say, okay, well that's taken care of. So now we can do
well, I have to say, Apple, your ability to communicate with other species is really quite remarkable. I really do think you should consider going into a new career as a translator. You know, they make really good money.
I do find myself in need of pips, so maybe I'll keep that
You could be like a translator blacksmith. It could be your old double act. You could open up your clientele enormously.
That's true. That's very true.
You do actually know interpreters in Mausritter can command 30 pips a day.
Wow. I'm like doing the mental math of like how much I make as a blacksmith versus how much I could make as an interpreter. Feeling good.
Okay. Cool. So you sent the frog off?
Susie, do you think that studying this stuff would be at all interesting to you, or do you think you've learned everything that you'd be interested to learn from it?
Studying the what in particular?
The gunk. I'm kind of pointing to the purpley green stuff that smells of Gouda.
Can I ignore that last word in that statement? Losing my shit already. I failed. Can't keep together. I think she would probably just look at it and be like, it's very unpleasant, and I don't think it's a good idea for us to interact with it more than we have to. I'm kind of thinking we should just go down the hole.
Okay. Go down the dumbwaiter hole? Or
I'm kind of curious.
I am also quite curious, I'm not gonna lie.
Is it big enough for us? Could any of us fit in it?
Yeah, you could fit in it. You think you probably need to go 2 at a time. Otherwise it'd be a bit too heavy. But it looks like it's designed to lift quite heavy stuff, so yeah.
If death comes for us, perhaps I'll be able to read more books in the afterlife.
Nice thought.
Perhaps, but let's not test it yet.
She just grabs your shoulders. Don't lose heart. We'll make it.
She said that very plainly, like she's not sad or anything. She just said it like it was just kind of a rant, like the equivalent of like, oh, it's kind of sunny today, or like, oh, it's a bit breezy. I should put on a coat. She's like, oh, if we meet death today, maybe I'll be able to read more.
You hear a little as Azealia starts pulling up the dumbwaiter, and then she says, well, you can all meet death first, but I'll help.
Oh, can we, Azealia? Can we really?
Azealia looking out for number 1.
I'll hold the rope as you all go down.
Friends, just take heart. If any of you have doubt in your hearts, just remember the words of my friend William. Once more into the breach, once more friends. And when we face the blast of war in our ears, we must imitate the actions of the most foul of felines.
All right. Well, I mean, certainly heartening words. I think like Tabitha has a bit of a thing of like looking at Elchie and like similarly like slightly misinterpreted where Susie is at, and so just kind of puts a hand on Elchie's shoulder and kind of like whispers to her and whispers to them and is like, I think you should go with Susie to keep her spirits up. You know, you're awfully good at that. So I'm trusting you. You've never failed to bring a smile to my face. You got this.
I think Elchie's like, for a minute was like, yes, I've got this. And then like when you compliment, she's like, oh, okay.
I love my mouse friends.
Okay, so you're thinking, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
So you're thinking you're gonna go down, just have a little look just to see if there's anything to find out before you carry on, is that right? Cool, okay. So yeah, Azilia's brought up the dumbwaiter, lets you hop in, and slowly lowers. Who's gonna go down first? Two of you. Susie and presumably Elchie then. So you go down past a level where you see a similar looking little sort of side corridor which has two little doors off on either side as if there's a similar layout below you, and then you're going down to the bottom all the way and comes to rest on that third level. And I assume the rest of you are coming with, so I'm going to move you over to level 3, which you won't be able to see anything.
I'm going to switch switch from my sling to my hammer, since we're going to be maybe in more close combat.
Okay.
If we fight something.
Yeah. And so you're kind of halfway, if you're on Roll20 trying to find it, it was just halfway down the screen. And you come to rest at the bottom, and there's another little corridor, similar sort of shape, which has a sort of like a little waiting bench, as if people sort of come here to wait to take stuff up and down, and a little chest, and then two doorways, one to the north and one to the east, just little wooden doors, and you'll make your way down, crowd in. And it is dark down here, so if you want to be able to see, you're going to need to light your torches, which every 6 turns they mark a usage on them. They have 3 usages, so I'll let you know. One of you can choose to do it, a lot of you can do it, but just kind of, if I say mark usage and you've been using it, just keep track. If not, you're going to need to stay near someone who has the light, or it'll be difficult for you to see.
I'm going to look up the thing and say, Azalea, you said you would specifically carry a torch.
Well, I'm up here now. What do you want me to do? You do see, as you get in there, there's another little pulley system, so you could help her come down.
Yeah, I was like, get in the basket.
Fine. She comes down, lights a little torch. Ready.
Thank you.
As you're standing quietly for a moment, you can hear the sound of rushing water quite a lot louder down here. You can also hear the sound of what sounds like sort of like steam in pipes, it sounds like, or something in pipes, kind of like groaning, as if there's some sort of pressurized pipe somewhere around here.
I mean, I'm gonna poke in the chest to see what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the chest, you find a small treasure. Let me get my little treasure table. Roll a d6 for me.
Roll a d6.
4. You find 6 bottles of plum wine worth 25 pips each.
Gosh. I have been thinking of expanding out the liquor that we offer at the inn, but when you call the Applewood Inn, people turn up with a certain expectation of what they're going to be drinking, and it never really seemed to be worth it.
And I'll say slot wise, I think you can maybe group them into twos. So I think Elch already has a bottle, or maybe Apple Fritter, I can't remember. But yeah, so there's 6 bottles here as well. So if you want to distribute them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've only got
slots.
1 slot and would like to share them regardless. So I'll take 2 bottles, but who wants to take the other 4 in sets of 2 each?
As a quick clarification, the herbs took up a whole slot, correct?
Yeah.
We were sharing them? Okay,
Mhm.
double checking. I'm putting bundles of herbs. So I do have 1 slot available.
Azealia has some space as well, if you want to give her some.
Oh, right, yes. Oh, no, that's okay. I'm happy to share. So to whoever has space. So Angela, did you say Susie has some space?
I think if Tabitha offers, Susie just goes up to her. She looks very pensively for a moment, smells the wine, like very carefully.
All smells good.
Will this help you if I take this?
Yes, and also worth mentioning, worth some pips, and pips can be exchanged for goods, services, paper, and books.
I know this isn't a narrative, but I just got a flashback to like a Simpsons clip.
That was the reference, yeah.
It's just like, money. What am I going to do with money? Money can be used to exchange for
goods and services.
I love this. I love this group so much already. But yeah, no, like the moment you say yes, it is. What did you say earlier, Rue? It's the like outline of plum wine where it was being held by Tabitha before, and it's already in her pack. I think her pack is sticking out in such a way that the plum wine looks like she has weird little wine bottle ears behind her now.
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna pass the other 2 to Apple, because I think I might have noticed Elchie kind of like helping themselves to like the table and stuff earlier. Yeah. So I think if that's all right, I'll probably just go.
Yes.
Apple.
Yeah. I take it, kind of start shuffling things around, and I have just enough room in my backpack for these 2 bottles. All my body slots are full, both my paws and my whole backpack. So I'm just kind of like
Good.
shuffling.
Great. Cool. Wine distributed. So you got these 2 doors. The sound of the pipes is mostly coming from the door to the east. The water sounds like it's coming more from the north, if there's sort of a difference between the 2. It sounds kind of like it's all around you, but a little bit more to the north.
I think I look at Tabitha. I was gonna toss it to Tabitha, since you kind of were like, oh, maybe we'll like look for like figure out what's going on. So I think I looked to Tabitha for like guidance.
Well, the drawing that the frog did was of the river, was of bumps in the river, right? And if the frog has lived here for some time, it would presumably know about the pipes, unless the pipes just materialized out of nowhere. But if they haven't, then it would know about the pipes. So perhaps we go towards the river, because that's where the frog said that the bumps came from, which is where the gunk came from.
Cool. Okay, so open the north door, and it opens into a big chamber about the size you think of the Great Hall above. And you see quite a lot of things. So I'll just describe a few little bits and bobs to you as you go into the room. You see it's this sort of stone floor, but there's these big pipes that come out of the walls and then kind of funnel upwards into the floor above. And they have stacks of little twigs and timber and coal around them that is semi-burnt, as if it's sort of created to warm these pipes. And there's 2 of those. And there's also these sort of stone columns that sort of look as if they're sort of vents, where there's like little tiny bits of fire by each one to kind of warm these vents. At the far end of the room, you see a set of double doors, which are currently closed, with that same color, purple and green gunk oozing out of the bottom into a puddle around it. And as you're kind of looking closer, you can also see drips of the gunk coming from the little pipes that feed out of the walls. To the side, you can just see through into a little sort of antechamber where there's little piles of coal and shovels, a sort of storeroom for the fuel. And that's the main things you notice to start with.
Does it look like the gunk is just coming under the door, or does it look like if we open the door, then it'll be like a wave coming through? Like, is it, I guess, leaking from the
Yeah,
middle?
good question. Yeah, it looks like it's seeping out from under. Like there's little sort of air bubbles as it's going bloop, bloop, as it's kind of slowly spreading. It doesn't look like it's going to go if you open it.
Apple points at the sludge. Just you're muted, Rue.
I have to find where I'm muted at. This is a large room, right? This isn't like over the river.
The whole, but like the rock itself is kind of in the river.
Okay.
So like there will be kind of river around and possibly even through the rock at points. You think that's so like the sound of the water is pretty loud through here as well.
Gotcha. Okay, but we can kind of scramble to that door with ease. Okay. Yeah, I think L2 makes a beeline like close to it, maybe kind of quickly scanning, but not like super carefully looking through the room to see if there are any other spots. But her main focus is this door seems to be a problem.
Yeah, I'll
it doesn't look like
well.
yeah, as you're looking at the door, it doesn't look like it's barred or anything. It just looks like it's been sort of clicked shut. But yeah, there is this kind of puddle of dew around it.
And I think if I think if Apple has followed after me, just turn around. You think the door is keeping this at bay, or it's just leaking out? She kind of like looks suspiciously.
I think I point, because you said this is a double door, Philippa.
Yeah.
Or it's okay. So I think I point out that there's like not stuff coming through like the center part of the door, only the bottom. And I say, I don't think it's keeping it at bay, and it looks like slow, like mud or some kind of thing like that. So maybe even if it is keeping it at bay, we could get out of the way pretty quickly. I really want to know what this is. I feel like we should open it.
Yeah, I think Elchie will look towards Tabitha and Susie just to kind of before we go charging in. But her hand is like on the doorknob, and she's like, I guess I should.
Yeah, you're having to sort of lean a little bit over the puddle to grab
I'm
the
like
door.
Holding on to like the back of your
yeah
like a strap on my neck.
Azalea's like holding the torch up, like, I'm helping. Cool. If you're all good with it, Elchie, you can carefully open the door, and it doesn't rush through, but some sort of bubbles through and the puddle gets a little bigger. And yeah, you can look through and see through into here, and you see I'll show you the sides of this as well, because I think you can sort of look through. You see a much more like roughly hewn room, as if this is almost sort of like not quite natural stone like erosion, but like it's just been kind of roughly hewn away, not as nicely done as the rest of this place. And there is a big sort of like a pond, like almost like an oxbow lake, like, you know, a little curve where you can see down one side there's water flowing in, and then it kind of swirls around in the pool, and then it flows out the other side. And in this pool are big blobs of this gunk that have they're kind of like splooshing together, sort of like, you know, when you have like oil and water and the beads go together sort of thing. And yeah, some of it is like kind of pooling on the sides, and some of it is kind of like slowly being sucked into some of these pipes that are dipped into the pond, which obviously take water and distribute it, now you realize, throughout this castle. But it's going very slowly, as if the pipes are kind of like almost a bit full of this sludge already.
Like a milkshake.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
What does it smell like in here?
It smells very herby, and it does smell, we're maybe up from Gouda, we're maybe heading more towards maybe like a camembert that's been in the fridge for a few days.
Gonna go with goat cheese that's been there 2 weeks
Yeah.
over passing.
Yeah, so it's smelling a lot stronger in here. There's a lot more of this stuff, and you can see as you're looking, the water that's flowing in is bringing more of this gunk in from the river outside.
Interesting. I call back to Susie and Tabitha, if you're not already, you know, up here, and say, there's some more stinky magic and herbs.
I think we need to establish, well, because part of it is the river is more flooded than usual. So perhaps there was something in the riverbed that got dislodged and is now washing in, and this is a natural phenomenon, a magical phenomenon, but a natural magical phenomenon. Or perhaps it's deliberate sabotage, in which case it's a very different situation, right? Like if it's just an accident of nature, well, that's unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world, and we can maybe find a way to shut off the river for now, and then it'll pass away. If it's not an accident of nature, and if someone did this on purpose, then that's concerning both for the frogs and also possibly for our own home.
I'm really glad we sent that message back.
Yeah, me too. I really think that'll make a huge difference. It's important to the safety of the village. And I think, you know, honestly, I reckon Lady Periwinkle, she's going to remember this apple. She's going to remember how civil-minded you were. And she's going to really, like, when you come back, perhaps there'll be a little bit of a bonus to the blacksmiths, to the smithy.
Do you think she'll give me more bread?
But you know that I'll always give you more bread. I mean, I'm sure she will, but I'll give you as much bread as you like.
Lost pensively for like a good straight minute, thinking about very good bread. Has a moment of like slightly losing complete focus on the situation, but also in the midst of that, Philippa, would I know anything about the nature of where this substance tends to occur, especially this gunky stuff?
I think you may have read a little something somewhere in your notes about potions, and brewing potions and things tends to be done with magical ingredients like herbs and things like that, and the right combinations of those things could create, you know, a salve or an ointment that can be used for many different things. And you know, you maybe not seen one yourself made, but you have seen like drawings and things, and it does describe it as a similar texture and sort of consistency as what you're seeing here, although you've not read a potion that seems to make people confused like the frog above. You also think that if you wanted to know more, you do know from your librarian studies, there is another settlement of mice in the woods called the Observatory, and they are very interested in science and magic and collecting interesting little tidbits of information, scrolls, which is why you know about them from your own collection of scrolls. And you think they might know maybe a little bit more about this sort of thing. But you haven't been there in a while. Not many people have visited or come to visit Basildon Hall from the observatory in a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so. They're quite reclusive. And they live in a fallen log.
would Elchie have seen or heard about anything like this from her travels?
About the potion gunk, or about the mice?
About the potion gunk, just
mhm.
maybe even rumors or like tall tales from people.
Let's do it's called like just a luck check. I think this is maybe 50-50. So roll a d6. If you get 1, 2, or 3, you will have 4, 5, 6. Actually, let's say 4 out of 6, because I think there might have been rumors going around. So 4 or lower.
2.
2. Okay, great. You have heard that there is a witch in the forest, an animal witch, who is very interested in magic. And you've heard her name is Merida. But you haven't heard what sort of animal she is. You just heard that she lives in the woods, in a rock den in the woods. And she's very interested in magic, and she likely would have a collection of potions of her own from her own experiments.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe LG would just relay that. Just kind of our memory jogs, and they're like, oh, when I was in my travels, I heard about some kind of witch. Everyone kind of said different things. Some people said they were a large mouse, and some people said they were a cat, and so who knows what they actually are. They were sparrows or salamanders. I heard every kind of animal, but they did say that they knew a lot about potions and magic, so maybe that might be an option to find more information. They never said anything about this kind of gunk, though, but who knows, maybe if they're into making mischief, maybe they're behind something like this.
So, some leads, some possible things to investigate. We are coming close to when we need to wrap up. So I think as we just finish up, what do you think, you've got these slight ideas of where you could go. What do you think you're going to do sort of as you kind of huddle together, talking over these things you've heard and over this puddle of weird fizzing potion? What are the last sort of thoughts you sort of talk together before we kind of wrap up for today? And we'll continue, obviously, where we were next time.
I think sorry.
No, you go ahead.
You go.
I think Tabitha, I've decided over the course of this first session, is quite civil-minded, and so I think for her, she's kind of sitting down and sort of distributing little snacks to everyone whoever wants them, like these little apple kind of fondant kind of thing, and giving you all a bit of cider to kind of keep your spirits up and your strength up and things, and says, well, I think that if there's something that could be a danger to Basildon, then we should investigate it before we get home, because if we leave it and we come back and it becomes a bigger problem, then I wouldn't forgive myself. I mean, as much as Ainsley is not set out to be a cook, they are a lovely little kid, and I wouldn't like to see them sick from the water. And besides that, our neighbours, the frogs, have always been very kind, and it seems unfair to leave their home in ruin. So my vote would be perhaps going into the forest and trying to resolve this before we come home. But I wouldn't force any of you to do it. I know it's very dangerous. And if any of you simply wanted to go to Willow or even just to turn around now, I wouldn't hold it against you, and I'd come with you if you'd like my company. I admire and respect all of you in equal measure, and you have all brought a smile to my face at some time or other, so I should be very sad to lose that.
I've never been to the observatory, but I've heard it's interesting, so I think if we're going to go into the forest, I would like to come and just... I've been to Willow Market before, so if we make it there eventually, that's fine, but I think Lovitch would understand if we make a little detour.
A little.
think Elchie throws her little guitar over her shoulder. She's like, Morrow never backs down from a challenge. If we're going forward, I'm going all the way. See? we can't let these frogs all become dazed and confused from whatever this she like kicks at the like gunk.
Yeah.
No.
As you kick at it, yeah, your shoe fizzes a little, and the end of your shoe melts off.
Just like, well, now we know. You're welcome. And then she starts like tending to her foot to make sure it didn't get on her.
Luckily, it was just the end of the shoe, not your foot for now. Susie, do you add anything as well?
I think Susie looks contemplatively, especially at she stares perhaps for a moment too many at the like slowly like burning away shoe in that kind of way of like, this is fascinating, but this is probably not a thing I should be staring at because it's probably a little weird. And she says, I find friends here who are with me now that my soul tells me that my happiness can be best attained by acting in accordance with what is good. And with what is good, it is to be with all of you, to help others. That in and of itself is goodness. As so my friend Eris told me.
And Azealia goes, well, you're paying me / paying off the tab, so I'll come as well.
Yes, I wouldn't call it so much paying you as forgiving the enormous debt which you owe me.
Same difference. It'll be paying by the end, don't you worry, Miss Tabitha.
Azalea is just basically Spike from Cowboy Bebop as a mouse. That's where we landed.
And Azealia raises her little torch and he's like, the Fellowship of the Mouse. And as you are all thinking about what to do next and where you might venture into the forest, I think we will wrap up that session next time to perhaps venture into the woods to find out more about this strange potion and where it came from. And that's been Mice in the Herb Garden, a little Mausritter campaign. So, end of stream, I have a few things to tell people about. But first, I would love if we go through, and now is our chance for our lovely players to tell us a little bit about them. Tell us 1 or 2, maybe 3 things you've been up to. And again, tell us where we can find you online. And 1 or 2 things you've been up to as well. I'll do the same order, which was, I believe, Taylor first.
Yeah.
Taylor.
Hi, I'm Taylor, she, her pronouns, and I have been playing Apple Fritter during the stream today. First, I just want to say thank you, Girls Run These Worlds, for having me. This is my first time on the channel, and it's been very, very fun. I do stream as well. I stream tabletop games over on my channel, which is twitch.tv/roll4felicity. And then also you can find VODs of previous games that I've done also on YouTube, Roll for Felicity, including a Mausritter game that I've been running. And our last adventure, which isn't quite up on YouTube yet, was a location by Philippa. So if you like her writing, then you'll like that. And a couple things I have coming up this month. On my channel, my friend Zay is guest running a game that they wrote called Totally Normal Human Roommates, which if you like things like what we do in the shadows, then you'll like that. And then I'm also running a one-shot of Vampire the Masquerade over on my channel. And it's my 2-year anniversary of streaming this month, so I'm doing some extra streams and things to celebrate that. So you can catch me over there. And also just follow me on Twitter, Roll for Felicity. I tweet pretty much about the stuff that I've got going on. But yeah, that's me.
Cool. Next we have Ella. Again, tell us who you are, where we can find you, 1 or 2 little things you're up to.
Okay. I'm Ella Watts. My pronouns are she, her. I am also very glad to be here. This is the first time that I've been in like a streamed campaign, so I'm very nervous but also excited and grateful to my fellow players and wonderful GM for having me. If you want to find me online, then I'm on Twitter and Instagram at GEJWatts. I'm a game designer. I made a game called Upriver Downriver, which is kind of a queer hope punk pastoral game that's about rebuilding peace in the ruins of war and is coming out in December. So you can check that out if you go to MacGuffin and Company's website. I also occasionally GM and play in campaigns for a podcast called Realms of Peril and Glory, where most recently I played Many-Wade Calliope, who is Many-Wade in many ways, in a campaign of Agon, where I just played a genderqueer bisexual rogue in ancient Greece, and it was a good time. So if you want to check that out, you can do that too.
And next, Rue, tell us who you are, where we can find you, and so on.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rue. My pronouns are she, her. You can find my Twitter at Cherry Drop, which has all the links to everything I do. I'm a game designer, writer, and actual play player and string producer. I produce at All Nerds Here and Valorous Games, and I also am a part of the regular cast at All Nerds Here, although we are on an off season currently. You can find my games at rue7.itch.io. I believe the link should be in chat, and then also on my Twitter. And currently I am writing up a holo for Adam Vass's Babes in the Woods, which is slowly releasing each of these holos each week for the entire month of October. So if you are into kind of the over the garden wall, Gravity Falls type Halloween, not like shenanigans, Babes in the Wood is a great game for that. And these holos are all going to be coming out as free adventures to play within Babes in the Woods. Go ahead and check that out. Mine should be coming out in a little bit.
Cool. Last but by no means least, Angela.
There, lovelies. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here with us. Thank you for tuning in to our debut episode. My name is Angela Lemos from Montreal. I use she, her pronouns, and you can catch me in a lot of different places, mostly Girls Run These Worlds and Girls Write These Worlds stuff, which I'm sure Philippa will mention a little thing coming up about that after this. But in terms of ongoing projects, you can catch me if you want to see an actual play stuff coming up soon in a charity one-shot this Friday for Play Cancer Away, where I'm going to be doing what I do most days now when I run stuff, which is running Slayers for people, because I'm the other Slayers person. If it's not the actual designer, it's me at this point, because I've made 21 books on it. But also, there's a bunch of other ones I could get into, because I apparently do a lot. I'll be literally writing a theme for this game that hopefully will be ready by next time we get together. I'll shout out a fun thing that I'm doing. I contributed to the Final Fantasy XIV Tarot zine that's coming out real soon, where folks either contributed artwork or writing to each of the major arcana within the tarot deck itself. I think I ended up doing Judgment for the Oracle of Light Reen / Minfilia. So I got to write about my favorite light child who is deals with a lot of shit and has a lot of growth. And I in no way relate to all of that growth whatsoever. I am not transparent in my interests and desires. But yeah, I'm in too many things for this kind of thing. I have like 7 other things I could probably mention. I'm gonna let Philippa have her time.
I know the feels.
This was amazing.
I should probably say who I am, I suppose. I'm Philippa Moore. I've been your game master. If you want to find more stuff that I've done, the best place is just over on my Twitter at @MortPhilippa. Has a little link tree to my itch.io page where, yes, I've written a Mausritter adventure and other things. I'm also on TikTok talking about indie games like Mausritter, and I also write adventures and games and stuff over on DM's Guild and itch.io and all of that. So at MortPhilippa is where you can find me. I have a few little things just to let you know about. So if you have enjoyed this, please do tune in to more Girls Run These Worlds stuff. So please do follow. If you're not, please consider subscribing. Please do follow us on Twitter and all of that. Also, there are some casting calls open on Thursday for 2 shows, and I'm just going to read this. And Oops, All Dracula's One Shot by Jess Markram, and a Regency Remixed Season 2 UK EU friendly time slot. So if you want more stuff in this time slot, like we're doing now for Mausritter, please do consider signing up for the Regency Remixed, which Season 1 was really, really good. So please do tune in, sign up for Season 2 if you want to get involved. Also, if you have an idea for something you want to run on Girls Run These Worlds, the creator application is open. It's over on the Twitter at Girls Run These Worlds. So do check that out if you have a cool idea. And also, finally, as Angela was mentioning, we have Girls Write These Worlds now, which is a new project for writing cool, interesting things. I don't know that much about it yet, but I believe there's stuff coming out about it. And I think there's also, if you want to know the nuts and bolts of what's happening with Girls Writing These Worlds, there's also now going to be some more regular, I think it's called State of These Worlds streams, where the producers talk about stuff that's going on. So all of that, lots of information. I think hopefully some of that will be in the chat, and if not, look at the Twitter, because that's where everything gets put on as well. So I believe we haven't found someone to raid tonight, unfortunately, but thank you very much, Horde of Tales, for raiding us. But next time we will. So that all that leaves me to say is thank you so much, players, for joining me tonight, and please do come back next week at 4 p.m. ET or 9 p.m. BST for some more Mausritter. Until then, we shall say goodbye. Goodbye.